Oop, there we go. Yeah.
Military base, my dad was stationed. No, but that's how they got the idea, because they were copying the way he.
You don't have to. Come on.
He had the same idea.
Yeah.
The goal.
Yeah, put it in a commission.
And reduce
Do you
the
guys know
supply,
if
increase
Commissioner
the,
Light's
the
coming?
price.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard?
Same thing they're
Okay.
doing with the housing here.
Oh, God. I had to sit through, I'm on this, South Bay Association of Realtors.
Must be.
He's not aware either.
I haven't. I was
As
gonna-
Sunday, he was
ask.
gonna come.
They keep giving
I
money.
had dinner with him Sunday.
January 18th. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Light,
Present.
Commissioner Boswell, Commissioner Craig,
Present.
Commissioner Gaddis,
Present.
Commissioner Conroy,
Here.
Commissioner Lamb,
Here.
Chair Hazeltine.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have a salute to the flag if we'd all stand up. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the order of the agenda?
Motion to approve the order of agenda.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, great. We had a blue folder items today that was sent to us. The blue folder items are additional backup.
Oh, I was going to read it. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, go, read it.
Sorry about that. We have a blue folder item for J1, a public hearing for consideration of an exemption declaration, a conditional use permit, and planning commission design review for an auto body shop within an existing commercial building on property located in a commercial C2 zone at 1435 Aviation Boulevard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. A motion to receive and file the blue folder items.
Motion to receive and file.
And a second?
A second.
Okay, so our business items, the consent calendar, our business items except those formally noticed for public hearing or those pulled for discussion are assigned to the consent calendar. The commission members may request that any consent calendar items be removed, discussed, or added upon separately. Acted upon separately. Items removed from the consent calendar will be taken up under the excluded consent calendar section below. Those items remaining on the consent calendar will be approved in one motion. The chair will call on anyone wishing to address the commission on any consent calendar items on the agenda which has not been pulled by the commission for discussion. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once, and comments will be limited to a total of 3 minutes. Do we have any public comments on the consent calendar?
There are no comments and no attendees at this time.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar items?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. We will now move on to the public participation on non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. This section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written requests, if any, will be considered first under this section. Do we have anybody here that wants to talk about non-agenda items? Nope. Anybody online or written?
There's no attendees and no e-comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so then we have the ex parte communication. We start with you. Who did you talk to about J1?
Nothing on the agenda to disclose.
Okay,
I spoke with one resident in close proximity to the project.
okay, and you?
I talked to one business owner in the area.
Okay, Commissioner Gaddis?
No, none.
Okay, Commissioner.
I communicated with the District 4 council member.
Okay, and Commissioner Lamb?
I communicated with Chair Hazeltine and with Associate Planner Kinsella.
Okay, and I communicated with staff, and I communicated with Commissioner Lamb, and a small brief communication with Mayor Brand. Okay, so is there anybody in the public that would like to speak tonight on J1? Oh.
No.
Okay, can I have you, whoever wants to speak tonight, stand up? There are those individuals who wish to provide testimony with respect to the public hearing items on the agenda this evening, rise and take the following oath. Okay. Do each of you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay, thank you. Okay. Sean, I should, yes. Do you have anything you'd like to start with? Okay.
Going to open the public hearing.
Open the public hearing, yes.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, thank you.
You're very welcome. So the agenda item before you tonight are, there we go, this mic is working. Our Associate Planner, Stacy Kinsella, will provide the presentation. I do want to let the commission know that the City Attorney's Office is present tonight. We have Cheryl Park on Zoom. We also have the applicant present to answer any questions that could come up about operations associated with the business. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Stacy.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Chair Hazeltine and fellow commissioners. Happy New Year to you all. This is the consideration of an exemption declaration, a conditional use permit, and a planning commission design review for the property located at 1435 Aviation Boulevard. The property is located just east of Ford Avenue on Aviation Boulevard. The site is zoned C2 commercial, and the properties to the north are zoned R1A. These are the properties on Wallacott Street. The lot size is 8,506 square feet. The commercial building was built in 1976. It's 2,370 square feet in size. This predates our conditional use permit process, which was on or around 1996. That's when it was adopted. So this was considered a legal non-conforming auto body shop after that time frame. The current owner purchased the property in 2007 and it closed during COVID in 2020. Since the property was closed for more than 3 years, when they came for a business license looking to reopen, unfortunately, our legal nonconforming section of the code notes that a discontinuation of use for a nonconforming use requires a new conditional use permit. Here you can see the Google image of the property. And you can also see the zoning map, the C2 commercial all along Aviation Boulevard, and then the R1A neighborhood to the north. Here's the front of the property as it is today. You can see that front elevation with the stucco and tile work. On the lower end here, you can see adjacent to the driveway, they had created a planter space, and this is the refuse storage where the dumpster goes. Here's the side elevation leading down the driveway into the property. Here's the rear elevation. You can see those service bay doors. You can also see the unfinished storage shed that's about 120 square feet in size. There's a closer look of the storage shed. As part of this project, if it is entitled, then they will process with the building division to finish that storage shed and also remove all of the materials behind it. All of those bins and any of those exterior materials will move into the structure or into the refuse location. Here you can see the very rear of the property. This is basically the rear surface parking lot. You can see that wall and the multiple levels behind it up to the residential. It's about 11-foot grade difference with the residential property sitting 11 feet higher than this surface parking lot. You can see those R1A homes in the back there. I also walked up on Wallacott. You can see the lime green structure. That's my focus point there. You can see the lime green building, and there it is. So the majority of these structures are 2-story. So in June 2022, our senior building inspector happened to notice some work taking place at the site without permits. He issued a stop work order. He observed stucco work and tile work taking place. Our code enforcement team then began to process with the owner, and then they were able to close the case in September 2022. Of course, when they came to planning staff for a business license approval to reopen the shop, we advised them that unfortunately the legal nonconforming status had been lost since the business had been closed for more than 3 years. So we told them that they needed to process a conditional use permit with us. As part of this project, they're also proposing a solar shade structure over that rear surface parking lot. It will be located within the rear setback of the property. Because this is a commercial property abutting residential, a 20-foot rear setback is required. That structure will be about 3 feet from the rear property line. So that triggers Planning Commission design review. They will be restriping that rear lot and adding an ADA parking spot. There will be ADA upgrades to the facility entrance, and that'll be per building code requirements. They've already been working with the building division to prepare that submittal if this is entitled. You saw that small storage shed in the rear. It's 120 square feet in size. Again, it will be finished on the exterior if the project's entitled. And then there will be all new plantings along the front elevation as well as in the rear 3-foot planter behind the parking area. And then they included signage within the architectural drawings that were attached to the staff report. Here you can see the site plan. You've got the main outline of the commercial building. Here, this is where the entrance will be modified to create an ADA entrance to that main lobby. Here's our existing driveway space coming into the property. They've got a planter here on the right-hand side of the driveway. This is where the refuse container will go, basically the dumpster. You've got the gate, the rolling gate here. You come into the property, they will restripe and be able to create 9 full parking spaces. They're currently, the previous striping had been undersized. So these will be restriped to be 8.5 feet in width and 19 feet in depth. And of course, the new ADA spot over here. Here's the floor plan. They actually have 4 service bays, but they're going to remove the hydraulic lift in that right-hand service bay. That will be used for storage. On the far left, this will also be utilized for storage. So anything that is in that back parking lot will be pulled into the building or the storage shed. And then here you can see they intend to have 3 parking spaces for services to the vehicles. Here's an important site section that was within the architectural set of plans. You can see this is the side view of the property. This is the driveway here. Aviation Boulevard is over here. You've got our storage shed. This is the proposed shade structure, 17 feet in maximum height. You can see the rear wall here. It's about 8 feet in height. You've got the 3-foot planter here. you saw in the conditions of approval that we recommended these be plantings that can reach a mature height of 20 feet. Then you can see the rear fencing, and then this is the residential property here. So you can see the line of sight points that we had the applicant provide.
I'm sorry, quick question. When you said 20 feet, is that from where the planting hits the soil or from the level below, say where cars are parking?
The 20 feet in height, the way they have it called out on this plan, it's from the top of the planter space.
Thank you.
So business operations, if this is approved, they plan to be open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., closed on Sundays. They plan to have 3 employees at the site, and they expect 2 to 3 cars to be brought to the site daily. They noted that there will be a maximum of 8 cars on the property. No tow trucks will be permanently placed at the site, but there will be tow services for drop-off and pickup. No paint or chemicals will be used at this site. The function of this facility is to tear down the vehicles, inspect the damage, do some minor body work and mechanical repairs. And then if anything further needs to take place with the vehicles, they're actually taken to one of the other facilities owned by the Lexology team. And that's where they do the more detailed work. The rear parking lot was originally shown as having 8 parking spaces. As I noted, they'll restripe and create 9 full spaces of the appropriate size per our parking code, and that includes the 1 ADA space. Parking required for an auto body shop is 1 space for every 250 square feet of floor area. For this commercial building size, that would be 9 parking spaces. The code also states that it can't be less than 3 spaces per service bay. We went very conservative on this calculation, and with the reductions in the use of the service bays to become storage, the 3 parking spaces, though 3 internal parking spaces, we determined that each one would require 3 external parking spaces. So 3 times 3 means 9 for the service bays. They expect the 3 employees and a maximum of 8 cars at the site daily, which actually makes a total of 11 spaces. From our calculation, with the 9 exterior parking spaces plus the 3 internal garage spaces, the property has the opportunity to house 12 vehicles. We did ask the applicant to obtain a noise impact study. Even though the business is not in operation, they were able to provide a noise modeling study for your review. This is to predict the constant and steady state noise levels. They utilized an 8-gallon compressor and a pneumatic tool as part of their modeling. They had 5 different receptor locations, 2 of which are the adjacent commercial sites, and then 3 receptor locations up towards the residential properties. The modeling assessed with the bays doors closed during equipment operation. Thus, you saw a condition stating the doors be closed during equipment use. The results showed that the highest level of dBA was 51, and that was adjacent to the commercial. Our code has a maximum of 60 dBA for commercial. Residential sites had between 46 and 48 dBA. Our code requires a maximum of 50 dBA. So both are below the maximum noise levels. The building division will require mechanical ventilation for the building itself, since the bay doors will be closed when equipment is in operation. So you will, during that plan check phase, they will require additional ventilation. Also, the business operator will probably have to provide protective gear, for hearing for the employees, and that's part of the OSHA requirements. So this property is located within the Artesia and Aviation Area Corridor Plan, the ACAP. The preferred uses within the ACAP are restaurant uses and office uses, and this use, of course, is neither of those. We did go through the aesthetic improvements. that are a part of the ACAP. That includes the upgrade of the exterior stucco, the upgrade of the tile work. They put in the vertical reglets along the front elevation to create some definition to the building. They also provided new windows and doors. So if you saw any of those old Google images, they were able to upgrade, make a more modern structure from the street view. Of course, we'll have new landscaping along the front and within the rear planter area. That solar shade structure will provide some screening to the rear neighbors for the line of sight and possible noise mitigation. With these conditions of approval, they're outlined within the report as well as the resolution. The property essentially looks like an office space now. It doesn't look like an auto body shop. We feel aesthetically it meets the intent of ACAP. We did go through some neighborhood compatibility in discussions with the police department. No complaints had been received from the rear neighbors when the auto body shop was in use pre-COVID. It's important to know also that the ACAP goals and policies are in alignment with the land use element for Aviation Boulevard, the goals and policies. And that's all under our current land use element. It's section 1.31, which is to have high quality commercial uses along the Aviation Boulevard corridor and to have residents serving a good, healthy mix of resident serving commercial uses. We feel in this current iteration of the project site that this is consistent with the intent of ACAP.
Okay.
So this is their property down the street, further down the street at Prospect and Aviation. This is currently in use. This is part of their business. This is a large office with more detailed work. The applicant provided these photos so you could see what type of work product is in use now. Here you can, it's a much larger facility, but this is the corner view, and you can see how the tile work, the planting, the stucco, the paint colors, they're all consistent with what they have at this site. They're attempting to mirror it with this smaller commercial building. And you can see they'll have similar plantings as well as they have at this property. And this is, I think that's the owner on the phone. This is the inside of their current building. So for the conditional use permit criteria and findings, the property is indeed adequate in size and shape to accommodate this type of use. There's an existing access driveway off of Aviation Boulevard. There's adequate parking and driveway aisle width within the site. Again, new landscaping along the front of the property and the rear. It had been asked by a couple of the commissioners, there used to be parkway trees along Aviation Boulevard. And in the Google images, it was maybe around 2019, you could see one parkway tree purposefully placed in front of each commercial building. By 2021, they had each been removed. I did connect with the Public Works Department about those removals. It was unclear why those were each removed and cemented over, right? That little parkway. It was maybe a 2-foot square spot for each tree. It was unclear why they were removed. I did ask if maybe there were issues with the tree roots, right? Oftentimes we have issues with that in the sidewalk, or if there was an issue with the species of tree. Unfortunately, I didn't get a definitive answer. However, it was something that was systematically removed.
Question?
Yes.
So this is something that just happened a few years ago.
It's fairly
Planted trees.
recent.
A year later, they took them out.
Well, I don't know if they planted in 2019. I just mean that you can see them in the previous Google images,
there.
and then they disappeared after that.
Okay, so they'd been there for a while then,
Yes, they'd
for
probably
a
been
while.
there for several
Okay.
years.
but they were unable to tell you what prompted the removal of all those trees?
I spoke with someone in the Public Works Department today, but he referred me to someone else who wasn't available,
That's what I would do.
right? I will probably find out tomorrow.
Would that be the guy who has a lot of trees in his yard now?
No, but it could have been a strategic plan item where they needed to remove the trees for some, the tree forester may have found issues with the trees or issues with the sidewalk. We just don't know that right now. So we will have new landscaping in the small planter areas along the front and the rear. Again, we feel that it meets the intent of the ACAP, which also meets the intent of the land use element for the aesthetics and compatibility of the business. The noise impact study shows that it will be below the allowable levels. Again, we have conditions of approval for new landscaping. We're conditioning the project to include the shade structure for view mitigation and possible noise mitigation. And then there's a condition that the bay doors remain closed when equipment is in use. And those conditions are outlined in the draft resolution. They're numbers 16 to 27. For Planning Commission design review, that shade structure is within the 20-foot rear setback. It's proposed to be a maximum 17 feet in height. And again, that grade change is approximately 11 feet between the surface parking lot and the rear residential yard areas. It's primarily viewable from the second-story residential window, so there is some view into this property, but that shade structure will help at least partially shield the parking area. The new landscaping will be in that rear 3-foot planter with a mature height of 20 feet. So that shade structure is going to have solar. So of course, we're going to reduce energy consumption at the property, which is always a win. It's utilitarian in design, of course, but it would not detract from the commercial building. And it's worth noting the commercial building is just under 17 feet in height. So they're very similar in height. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission open the public hearing, take testimony, close the public hearing, and make a determination regarding the exemption declaration, the conditional use permit, and the Planning Commission design review for the auto body shop at 1435 Aviation Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Cassell. Does anybody have any questions for staff? Well,
Yeah, I do.
yes, go.
You mentioned there's obviously an air compressor, and I've run shops that have air compressors in them over the years. Is that the unit going to be located inside or outside the building?
Inside. It's shown on the floor plan to be inside.
And then secondly, the parking. I know that area is really tough for parking already. I've got to the carpet store, the flooring store next door many times, and is when you get out of your car, you have to hope that you're not going to get sideswiped by a vehicle going 50 miles an hour. But I noticed maybe I'm mistaking it, but in one of the renderings in the front, it looks like there's a lot more of the curb that's painted red now. Is that, did you extend the park? I think it's on page 79.
You went right by it.
I think I.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Do you want the photo?
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause I just did a Google mapping and pulled up to where the red curb is now. It looks like part of it's in front of the building as it is. And then, you can see to the left of that, there's a, and I thought in one of this is the real picture, but one of the renderings looks like they extended the red no parking zone to the telephone pole, or pretty close to that.
In the rendering that the applicant provided.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that changed at all, or is that gonna remain the same as this is right in this picture?
No, it's going to remain the same as the site photo I took.
And I believe the red zone, because I know the street narrows a little bit, is that why there's no parking past that? Just because the aviation narrows right at that point?
I don't honestly know.
Yeah, I think it looks like it does a little bit. So the reason I mention all that is that I know parking there is really tough anyway. And I parked sometimes, I had to park across the street to walk over. And if they're going to be, I guess the question was if they're going to be a lot of cars in all the time, is there anything we could, like say if a client's driving a car up, can we ask them to not park it on the street, maybe park on the side area so it doesn't take up the minimal spaces that are there now?
Absolutely, you can
Okay.
request that of
Okay.
the applicant.
Yeah, those are the only questions I had on those two.
Okay, Commissioner, Conroy.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
A couple of questions. Were there any conditions under this new CUP, other than, we spoke about the change in parking, but were there any conditions that were added or removed compared to the prior CUP?
Well, this property didn't have a CUP beforehand, so we don't have a compare, otherwise I would have attached that for you. We don't have a comparison, so this is a fresh look at the property.
All right, you'll have to pardon me. What did they have prior that expired when they weren't in business for 3 years?
They had legal non-conforming status.
Okay.
So essentially, when the city adopted the conditional use permit process in 1996, anything that predated that would require a conditional use permit then became legal non-conforming. So there is a section of code for legal non-conforming that you can continue that same use as long as there isn't a discontinuation of use for more than 2 years.
Understood, thank you. My other question is, do the owners plan, as part of the beautification with the plants and so forth in the front, to put signage on the front again like they had back some time ago?
Yes, so the elevation drawings within the architectural set do show signage on the front elevation as well as signage along the driveway elevation.
Great, that's all I had, thank you.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yes, and, excuse me, in terms of the refuse and the byproducts of the work that they do, I understand there's no painting or any other liquid that would be contaminants. But in terms of what they do, is there any requirement, OSHA environmental requirement for the refuse that will come about as that occurs with the work that they do?
The owner, because of the minor work that they're going to do at the site, they do not believe that they will trigger any special refuse, removal services. That would most likely be their facility down the street. We can ask more questions of the owner in relationship to that, but he doesn't believe it will trigger that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner, I think Commissioner Boswell was next.
Yeah, I'll go next. In your presentation, you mentioned that there had, in the prior operation of the shop, there had been no complaints to the police department. I wouldn't expect that there would be. You've moved in next to a body shop. Okay, you're probably not going to call the police and say, hey, can you tell the body shop to shut up? And the police are going to say, no, but we'll come to your house and harass you. So the question really is, does anybody who lives near this object to the amount of noise that they used to have and would like and have gotten comfortable with the fact that there's no noise coming from it now? So that's, I think, what the real question should be. Do you know if those people behind there have been surveyed on that topic?
The applicant indicates that they have reached out to those rear residential neighbors and have not heard back. We, of course, did our noticing, our required noticing, and we didn't hear from anybody. The letters of support, as you saw, are primarily the happy customers of the business. So we didn't interface and nobody has contacted us.
So nobody who lives near this responded in any way to their outreach or your outreach?
Correct. The only complaint that the police department, I just want to circle back for a moment, that the police department has on file is somebody who was homeless at the front of the property. No other feedback has been provided in the past or in response to the noticing for this project.
So somebody called the police because there was a homeless man in front of it?
Because there was a mentally ill individual who was homeless out front who needed assistance.
Okay, so he was looking distressed. It wasn't that he had set up camp there?
Right.
Okay. All right, hopefully he's doing well now.
Oh, sorry.
I had another question, but now I'm not sure what it was. Oh, I know what it was. So you're going to require that they have mechanical ventilation inside because the doors are going to be closed, right?
The building division is going to require that during the plan check phase.
What does it mean exactly? Would that be air conditioning or just flow through air being pumped in from outside?
It will be fresh air coming in from outside. I can't speak to exactly what that equipment will look like or how big it will be. If it's rooftop equipment, it will have to be screened to be architecturally compatible with the building.
I'm wondering, in respect to air conditioning, is there any indication that this will be air conditioning?
Yes, they'll have a mini split AC unit and it's noted on the plans as a rooftop item. And that's why I have a condition that that be screened to be architecturally compatible to the building.
So workers inside in August, the
Yes,
doors shut,
yes,
we'll have a way to motivate them not to open those doors.
right. So the AC is on the plans and then they'll have whatever additional ventilation the building division requires.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Commissioner Light?
I'm not sure on this, since I'm fairly new to this commission, on what the enforcement is of that. Because I could certainly see, and I've seen businesses that don't necessarily keep their doors closed. And this one would be one that would be particularly problematic if they didn't. So how is that done? I know you have inspectors, but I know you're very limited in what you are able to do. Is there any feel for how that will be? Is it in the beginning, someone checks on them more regularly, or is there a method to, because the no paint there, the no cars outside, that closed, the no more than 8 cars on the property, all seem great if that's what actually happens.
Right. So towards the end of the permit process, the inspectors will have planning come out and verify that all the conditions that you've approved are implemented at the site. So before the business opens, we confirm that it's correct. Then from there, it is unfortunately complaint-based, right? Those bay doors face the rear residential. They will have to let us know if there's a problem. And then it would become a code enforcement case. Once the permits are closed, the business is open, then it's code enforcement. The same team that visited them when there was a stop work order would come back out.
Okay,
Did somebody
anybody else?
complain to trigger that, or did they just happen to notice it driving by?
The senior building inspector happened to drive by and see exterior work to the
Completely
structure.
random.
Yes.
So completely random, okay.
Yes.
One more quick question. So if I understand correctly, this facility functions kind of like an automobile triage where vehicles come in and some parts are taken off and so forth, and then the vehicles are transported to their other facility?
Correct.
So throughout the day, the expectation there would be multiple cars that are towed from one facility to the other?
They might. We can ask the applicant, specifically what those volumes would be. He had indicated 2 to 3 vehicles would be towed to the site, brought to the site in some way.
Thank you.
Okay, why don't we take testimony from the applicant?
Just one more.
Oh,
Just one more.
yes, Sheila, go ahead. I mean, Commissioner Light.
I just want to thank Planner Kinsella and Director Scully for the effort that they made on behalf of the residents, really, to bring forward a project that is aesthetically pleasing and addressing issues related to the community, the residents in the back, with the trees, with the foliage in the front. And it is an auto body shop. And we've seen many auto body shops, right, that don't have this quality, this aesthetic quality. And so again, I want to thank you for your input on that. And I'll leave it at that because we want to hear from you.
Thank you. Okay, does the applicant have anything they'd like to add? Is the applicant, are you George? Or that's someone else? Okay, come on up. And just state your name.
My name is Michael Badawi, one of the owners of Lexology and now the owner of Urban Collision Center. So a few things I want to go over. First off, as far as the code enforcement, my contractor actually did contact the building department, and he did say that we wanted to re-stucco the exterior of the building. And the city said, as long as we're not sandblasting, we can re-stucco the building without issue. And that's what we actually, like you said, Pete was the inspector that drove by, he saw, and that's what brought attention to the whole issue. So we weren't trying to break any rules. We did do our due diligence to find out, because I thought we would have to pull a permit for stuccoing, but that was not the case. We actually had that email. So as far as that goes, we were trying to comply and not trying to do anything that was out of sorts. Also, I mean, you guys saw what the other shop looks like. That's what we wanted to do there. In all honesty, what you see there is not even close to what we want to end up at. It's just, we don't have an okay to do any work, so we haven't done anything yet. Once we do, it'll look a lot more aesthetically pleasing than what it is there. As far as the noise goes, most of the neighbors behind us, when we were there, the ones that still live there now, they all were aware of what we did and how we did it, and we've never had issues with anybody, in all honesty. So I don't think this will impair any of the residents or anybody else nearby. I think it'd be a welcome addition, no offense, compared to some of the other buildings that are in the area. So,
Thank you.
do you guys have any questions for me? Or?
Yeah. Commissioner Lamb?
Go ahead.
I'll ask a question. So the intent of this facility is to do, to take a car that's come in that needs body work,
Right.
inspect it, remove parts of the car like a bumper or a fender or whatever.
Right.
And then make a determination as to whether simple repairs could be done there, like replacing a bumper or a fender.
Sure.
And then take it somewhere else to paint it.
Yeah, no painting is going to be done on the premises. In all honesty, this is, in all intensity, it's less intrusive than what was there previously.
Did they do painting previously?
We didn't do painting, but we did a lot of other stuff. I mean, it was a full-service shop, so a lot more stuff got done than what's proposed now. This is actually, I mean, it's less intrusive by far.
So, so that's kind of hard to tell what you're talking about when you just say stuff. What were you doing before that you are not going to be doing in the current or the future incarnation of this facility that you think addresses that?
Well, in all honesty, I would say the volume of the amount of work that was getting done previously to what's projected is not going to be anywhere near what it was before. And the amount of cars being pulled in and out, it's not going to be as much as what it was before.
But as far as the body work itself, it's just the standard lower end, less, I mean, you're not going to do something like, you know, straighten a frame.
They don't straighten frames anymore.
They don't do that anymore?
It's about 40, 50 years ago.
The only time I had it done, didn't work anyway. So,
Yeah, that's
so, but are you going to be, you know, cutting through sheet metal? Are you going to be using grinders, or are you going to be using welding, anything like that in there?
I don't know how familiar you are with the new technology that's out there now. Everything's pretty receptive to noise. Like I remember somebody said that the compressors now, they're real loud. Compressors weren't loud before because when they start up, that's when they make all kinds of noise. Now they're constantly running compressors where they're constantly running at slow speeds. There is no startup. So technology's gone a long way. It's not as loud as what things were 30 or 40, 50 years ago. Things have really changed.
But are you doing things like using grinders and cutting through metal with torches and things like that?
There should not be much of a need for that. Mostly it's going to be dismantling with pneumatic tools and putting back together and stuff like that.
Okay, so the general type of work that you would be doing there would be pulling off parts that need to be replaced,
It's mainly
body
for
parts,
inspections.
and replacing them.
It's mainly for inspections because once a car comes in, the first thing it has to get done is torn down. Then an adjuster comes out to look at it. It could take 1 to 3 days. So a lot of lost time where the car just sits, waiting for adjuster to come by, approve the repairs, then it gets sent away, get fixed, and brought back for whatever the time when it's time for the customer to pick it up. Did I answer your question?
Sort of.
Commissioner Lamb?
So what you explained was very interesting. The question I would like to know is, how does this building or this facility assist your bigger facility? How do they relate together? And one of the things I just heard is that you have a need for inspection
Correct.
for insurance purposes. And so I'm wondering if you could sort of explain that relationship between these two facilities and how you see these two facilities working together.
Well, there's actually 3 facilities. No painting gets done on site, painting gets done down the street.
Yeah.
So the biggest issue is usually paint or hazardous materials. There's gonna be a lot less hazardous materials because there's no painting. So all the painting will be done down the street as far as all the mechanical and the major body work can be done down the street at the other facility. And this is mainly for tearing down, minor inspections. If there need to be like a door lock actuator or a bumper or something else changed out, then it'd be replaced on site.
So those decisions are basically made at the main facility, and so you just direct the specific cars to that area, to that
Correct.
facility?
Correct. I mean, the biggest thing is really the time it's gonna take, because when the customer doesn't approve the repairs, if a car gets in an accident, the insurance then approves the repairs. So it takes time for the insurance to actually come out, approve the repairs, write an email, say what they're gonna accept, where the part's gonna come from. There's a lot of allocation that gets done that really, that's kind of takes longer than the actual work being performed.
Right. And if you kept the cars at the other locations, they would be taking up space?
Correct.
Okay, so this just fits a kind of niche that you need.
Well, in all honesty, it's a building that I want to utilize. It's been sitting there vacant for 3 years, so.
Right.
COVID kind of came in and in all honesty, that created a lot of the issues. It's been rough ever since then, and I want to utilize that building. That's the main reason.
Right.
So that's where we started. It's what we know,
Yes,
so.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else? Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Hi. Certainly, you've shown that you have an eye for the aesthetic. Your facility at Prospect is very pleasing, the facade. And so I'm happy to hear that you're planning to do something similar at this location. Yeah, it sounds like you're saying this is an extension of that larger location because this allows you to have more automobiles in the queue and being processed through, whereas you wouldn't have that additional space at the Prospect location, from what I gather. That all sounds good. Also, one of your neighbors is a full auto shop from as far as I'm aware.
Sure.
And so there's
A few of them there, actually.
Yeah.
Neighbor there, and then the detail
2 doors
shop down
down
the
on the
street.
other side.
Right.
Yeah. So there is a lot of that going on. Plus, like you said, in years past, you were doing more auto work in that location.
We're a pretty high facility.
Yeah. Per what you were allowed to do. You were doing
Yeah,
that.
we
and
were
this
there
is-
before the homes.
Absolutely. So that all sounds good. The only real question I have for you, you provided the sound study. Is that accurate?
I paid for it.
Okay.
Does that mean I provided it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I see everything's within limits. But since the facility wasn't operational, how did you come up with what you felt the sound levels were going to be? How did you create that?
That's this gentleman who's gonna step in here now. I couldn't answer.
Okay, go ahead. Answer, yeah.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm with Allied Projects. Mike hired me to help him with the drawings and work with Ms. Kinsella and Mr. Scully. The sound study was a noise model, essentially, so it was made through a noise modeling software. So there's sound engineers who have noise modeling software. In the report, it lists the exact type of software that they use as well. I think it's on page 1 of the report. Page 14 of the report lists the decibel readings from that. So it's created digitally, essentially. And then with a 3D model of creation from our 2D drawings for the property. So they're able to extrapolate and make a 3D model of the property based on our drawings, height data, distance data, and then through their sound analytics software, they're able to noise model.
They use beamforming technology for that?
I'm sorry?
Beamforming technology?
I can look up now and find the exact name of the software, but I do know that it's digital.
So that's how they measured the sound?
Correct.
How was the sound created?
How was the sound created?
That they measured?
It just in the software, however the software would create.
It's
I mean, the
virtual.
same way that I would be in.
There's no real sound to measure. It's
So
just,
there's a standard for an 8 whatever compressor, and that they know how much
They
noise
would
it
locate
makes,
where that compressor
and then it
is
dissipates by a
with the door.
physics of the distance.
Acoustics.
And we did study it with, without the solar panels as well. And the solar panel did drop down the decibel level by a point or two. So it helped a little bit, but.
okay. So everything was simulated. That answers my question. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Questions? Okay. Let's see, we have a George Barrick, is that? Bark? Hi.
B as in boy, ARKS.
Okay.
Well, good evening and Happy New Year to all the commissioners.
Thank you.
I've known Mr. Bodaway now for over 10 years, and when I had a Toyota, I did go to this location and, and he does very good work. And I don't know, no one's mentioning it, but the larger location is in the city of Hermosa Beach. It's right there on Prospect and Aviation. And actually closer to residents, much closer than here in the Redondo location. And you can see what he has done to be a good neighbor and to coexist with the neighbors, and he's done everything possible with the staff's help to mitigate the impacts. And he has no complaints, although when he first proposed the project in Hermosa, the neighbor said, no, we don't want that kind of a business there, because in previous years, that's all that was there. And you don't even know it's an auto repair shop right there. And it's beautiful, and I just, and as he said, he really didn't know that if he was not doing anything there for 2+ years, the legal non-conforming, situation would go away. And but it's been my experience over the years with him that he is going to do everything possible to get along with the neighbors. And as you can see, he's done a lot here to mitigate the impacts. And as you know, Aviation, Pacific Coast Highway, and residents right next, to commercial buildings, you have to coexist, and you have to really mitigate the impacts. And he'll do a wonderful job. And I'm asking you to support your staff's recommendation and support the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yes, come on up.
I'll ask him.
And just state your name.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Donnell, Donell. I'm a homeowner at 604 Reynolds Lane in Redondo Beach. I wanted to just briefly discuss my background and experience with both Lexology and more importantly with Mike and his wife Maida over the years. I've been a Lexology customer since basically when Mike opened in 2007. I was probably one of his first customers. And I tease him when I still bring my vehicle in that he should give me a deal, but he still won't, unfortunately. The shop, both on the interior and exterior, I think you can see it is and has always been impeccably maintained. It's super clean. When he was running the shop originally, in the location that's proposed, it was, impeccable, always clean. And the new shop is, as you can see from the pictures, is just as clean. Mike's goal has always been, I think, to blend in to the community. He doesn't want to stick out. And I think that we mentioned that, some of the other businesses in the area, they don't really care. They don't have that pride of community. I think it's worth stating that Lexology is not a big corporation. It's a family-owned business. It's a small business. And it supports the city and it actively supports the community. I'm specifically aware of circumstances where Mike has supported, for example, the local high school athletic teams. And, it speaks to his integrity and his. More importantly, I'd like to talk to Mike and Maida's character, as I mentioned, their integrity and honesty. I think as the saying goes in business, the tone is set from the top. If you don't set it properly from the top, you can't expect anybody else to do what you need. And, I would say it's not possible that he could have been successful in business for 15 years if he wasn't doing it right by his customers and by the community. And I think that has a lot of value. I've watched Mike over the years build a shop from the ground up. He started really small. I remember when his dad was helping him out in the beginning, and then he brought his wife along, and I've watched him start a family and raise that family in the community. They're community members along with all of us. Mike and Maida do it right. I think you can see from the staff report, there hasn't been any complaints at all in all of the time that they were running the business. I just think that, they're conscious of the community, as we said, and are very sensitive to that. It speaks to the high integrity that Mike has in running his businesses. So lastly, I just say that, based on that integrity and the character, I think hopefully that addresses some of your concerns.
Motion to extend 30 seconds?
Second.
Thank you. I think if you approve the CUP, you can be assured that Mike will follow all of the conditions and make you proud, and we'll be adding yet another great business to the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Come on up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Thomas Fitzgibbon. I am a Matco tools dealer in the South Bay, and my job is to service automotive shops. I sell them tools, I take care of their equipment, and I also sell them toolboxes. Given my job, I have an inside view of what goes on behind closed doors in most of these shops. And it's a reason why out of the 65 shops that I service, Mike's is the only shop that I take my cars to. He has serviced multiple cars in my family, including my wife's car, which is a 1970 Honda N600 show car, which has gone on to win trophies. And it's been invited to numerous car shows because of the bodywork that Mike has done. Mm-hmm. He holds his employees to high standards. He operates his business with integrity, and he even holds me to a high standard. And he made that very clear on day one, right, Mike? I appreciate that because that's the way I like to run my business. As been mentioned before, that his shop is aesthetically pleasing. It looks more like someplace you would get your teeth fixed more than someplace you drag your car into to get the bumper ripped off of it. So I don't think aesthetics are an issue. And even as you go inside, the aesthetics continue inside as well as they do out. It's one of the few shops I can walk into and not ruin my clothes if I brush up against something. I know the noise complaint or not the complaint, but the noise is an issue with automotive shops. And I'll tell you from firsthand experience as an air compressor dealer, that the new compressors, you can literally turn them on, the full-size compressors, and stand next to them, and we can have a conversation at this level, and we will not be interrupted.
And that's what's going into the new shop.
If he doesn't have one already, then I would be confident that that is what he would use.
Okay.
I know Mike, he holds things to high standards, and he likes nothing but the best, and he makes that very clear that price is not an issue when it comes to me.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. We're very pleased with the work that he's done to our vehicles, and there's no place else I would take my vehicle for service or for body work. He's worked on my 1983 Land Cruiser, which is a very rare vehicle. I will not take it to anyone else. He knows exactly where to go on the car. And like I said, he runs an honest business. But the main thing that I like about him is that he goes down on the floor and he leads from the front. So rather than mindlessly give orders from the office, he's down on the bottom showing his employees how it's done, sometimes doing it himself when it's necessary. There is nothing gets by Mike. He has a sharp eye for business. And that's the way I like to run it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up.
Hello, guys. I'm his neighbor next door, 1431 Aviation. I missed him so much.
And what is your name?
Please bring him back because 3 years it's empty. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Can you state your name?
I'm Peter Mardikian. We are BMW Mercedes specialists.
Okay, great.
That's
Thank
all
you.
we do. But 3 years it's empty next door. I feel so
You miss
bad.
him.
Please bring him back. He's an honest guy. He knows what he's doing. The public needs people like this
Right.
to do the business. That's all I say.
Thank
We
you.
need him back, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think someone else had their hand up, wants to come down, up, down. Anybody else?
I said we love him and his family.
Okay.
The beautiful people that work for him.
Okay.
Can I
Okay.
get up?
Let's see. Oh, George spoke. Okay, do we have any other questions up here? We'd like to ask planner? No, we're good?
I just wanted to say one thing. It seems kind of unfortunate that this 3-year gap happened, because if you'd done it in under 2 years, none of this would even be needed. And that we have an opportunity to put some of these things that make it a better place, but it sounds like you were going to do them anyway. So I appreciate that and feel bad for you having to just go through all this because of a technicality.
Any other questions for planner Kinsella? Oh, yeah.
For
Commissioner Boswell.
staff, just because I'm curious about these kind of things, do we have any information as to what sorts of revenue this business will generate for the city of Redondo Beach?
No, we don't have that information offhand.
That they would be charging sales tax for certain things?
The owner might actually
A
know.
Haagen-Dazs shop would be even more sales tax. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they could put a Haagen-Dazs shop in the lobby.
We've seen a number of auto businesses claim that they're going to add a Haagen-Dazs shop. We're still waiting to see if we've been taken for a ride on that.
Anybody else? Yes.
Quick question on the Parkway. What's the status with that? I didn't see it on, you mentioned it, but I didn't see it. Is it in the conditions, or are we going to discuss that?
So as it relates to the parkway and a potential parkway tree, right?
Right.
That would be a condition that we would craft
Yes.
as a team effort, because obviously those discussions happened after we posted the agenda. So it would be something that we would discuss now if that's something we wish to pursue. You can craft that condition and then refer it to Public Works Department approval.
Okay.
And there's no requirement, is there a requirement for parkway trees?
No,
Not at this point in time?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Boswell.
So is there any possibility that there may be an overflow of, say, finished cars that haven't been picked up yet that are then going to wind up being parked on the city streets?
The owner has indicated no in his materials. That would be a question if ever they've experienced that.
Have you ever done that?
Can you come up?
As far as overflow, we're pretty good at getting customers to pick up their cars. I don't like cars being on the lot more than required. I mean, my staff will be the first ones to tell you, we will even deliver cars just to get rid of them. It raises higher liability, more traffic in the parking area. Sometimes clients will be back there, they could get hit, or they could hit another car.
More work.
I don't want cars there that are done, in all honesty, and if they're sitting on a lot, we're not getting paid.
I ask because it's a fairly common practice for auto mechanics that they want to, they may have a much smaller space than you. Maybe it doesn't apply as crucially as it does to a lot of not body shops, but mechanics.
Sure.
They finish a car and somebody's going to come by and pick it up after work. Well, what are you going to do with it for the next 5 hours? Well, park it on the street. Make room for the stuff you are working on. So my concern is that perhaps this could be a condition that you could agree to for our approval, that at no point do you take up this limited street parking in the neighborhood by parking vehicles that you are working on or about to work on or have finished on the city streets, that you keep everything in your property.
I'm not gonna put a customer's cars on the street anyways. I mean, you should know the traffic on that street.
Only one. God bless you.
I will not do it because I don't want the cars to get hit. That's a pretty scary
I think
turn right
everybody
there.
would have that concern, but the fact is, it's common. And I ask because you've got a very respected business. You're going to have a lot of business, and you've only got three days that you can work on at a time.
At that location.
He's got 12, he's got a 12.
But you've got spaces you've got 9 parking spaces in the back.
Sure.
Okay, one of which is for handicap parking, so when are you even going to use that? I don't
That's the
know.
question. I
But
don't know the answer to that one.
But would you be willing to have as a condition of approval that you not park cars on the street?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Okay.
that's where I was going with it.
I wouldn't do it anyway.
Yeah,
The
Commissioner
fact that you
Lamb?
don't think it's a good idea is good,
Thank you.
but it wasn't the answer I was looking for.
Sorry, that turn is just crazy.
If I may, Chair, just a quick comment. We do have an existing Redondo Beach Municipal Code provision that requires all the vehicles associated with the business to be off-street and on-site. So we have that provision that we can enforce already. Be happy to create a
So that's
redundant.
enforced more rigorously than the leaf blower ban, I assume.
Well,
Okay.
and we do have, if you refer to the existing conditions that we've crafted, the condition number 27 deals with, noise complaints, and in a little bit of a tangent, but so let me just back up then. So we could craft a condition, but it would be redundant to an existing municipal code provision. We already have that, so.
Thank you, Planning
Yes.
Director
for
Scully.
that
Thank you.
input.
And then Commissioner Lamb.
You have a unique vision for the aesthetics for an auto body shop.
Thank you.
And I'm just wondering, how did that evolve over time? How did you come by that vision for the aesthetics for an auto body shop?
Well, I mean, the main location's on Prospect and Aviation. It pretty much emulates that. Originally, when the architect drew it, he had a lot of wood and a lot of stuff that I pretty much threw all away. I said I want stone and steel because I don't want maintenance.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much where we came up with the ideas of what we used, and we pretty much used the same materials. I think it looks good.
And the fact that you considered using an architect to design an auto body shop building, I think is extraordinary. And because, as you mentioned, you can look all up and down our aviation, and you can see lots of auto body shops, but they don't have the aesthetic that you have. So I would just say, from a resident perspective, thank you very much. And we hope that this is the new standard for auto body shops.
You guys enforce the rules, so.
Right. Not to diminish the auto body shop next door to you.
Not to see him back.
They work on
You have a pretty
BMWs.
nice facade in the front, too.
I've been doing 35 years.
Okay, anybody up here? Yes, Commissioner.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Broadway?
Yeah, battery's
Yeah,
fine.
and- What, excuse me?
Mic is fine.
Okay, Mike. In addition to what looks like being a contributing citizen to both Hermosa and Redondo Beach and business owner, you certainly do appear to be a business person of character as well, as evidenced by both, not only you got clients, vendors, and neighbors coming out to speak on your behalf. So you certainly are doing something right.
Try. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
We're good.
Second, I'll make the motion, please. Second.
Okay, so there it is, closed. We can now talk about, do we have any questions anything we'd like to ask the staff, anything, not the staff, anything we'd like to discuss between us? Well, I'll start. Okay, so I would like to see, in one of the pictures of the place that you have on Prospect and Artesia, you have, I think, three, aviation, Prospect and Aviation, you have 3 palm trees out in the parkway. So I would like, I don't know what happened to the trees out there, but you're in the Aviation Artesia corridor now and a big plans for beautifying those streets. So as long as, I mean, I'm not going to go so far as to put a condition that they need to be palm trees, although those look really great. And you can see that they take up such a small space, right? Whatever the Public Works decide, but I'd like to see 2 or 3 trees placed out there in the parkway. So I don't know where they went, but we can put those back in again, hopefully. So that's something that I'd like to see. Anybody else have a statement or a question between us? Yes, Commissioner Lamb.
So it may, if anyone else has a question or comment, I would defer to them because before we go to the resolution, I would just like to review that our role is to identify the findings. There are 4 findings in the conditional use permit. There's 9 in the design review. And then, of course, there's the exemption declaration. So I just wanted to review those for the benefit of the members, the audience that is here, and a reminder to us, right, that there are findings that we must look at in order to approve the project. And I know there's been a list that Ms. Kinsella has identified, a list of the improvements that will be made. But identifying the findings, I think, is very important for us as a commission.
I agree.
So I can go through that now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, by all
Okay,
means.
so the exemption declaration, the project is exempt from CEQA. This is about CEQA because it's under 2,500 square feet and it does not utilize significant amounts of hazardous substances, as Mike has pointed out to us. So that's so that gives us evidence to approve the exemption declaration. Okay, so in the conditional use permit, there are 4 findings that we must identify from all the information that was given to us. 1, it has to be consistent with the general plan and the ACAP. And what that means is it has to be adequate in size and shape for the use, right? And we all explored that. He described what the use would be and that it is adequate in size, and adjust the use with the uses of the land in the neighborhood, kind of a neighborhood compatibility issue with fences, parking. We reviewed the parking, the loading, the landscaping, the trees, etc. So that's, again, consistent with the general plan and the ACAP. Number 2 finding for a conditional use permit is adequate access to a public street. That was reviewed. Number 3, will have no adverse effect on abutting property. Again, a neighborhood compatibility, noise, visual. We reviewed that, and it was explained to us that noise would, the noise study indicated it was below the threshold, and visually, right, they have the barrier in the back, the shelter-ish, knew that they're going to put in for a visual to block some of the visual access from the houses behind. And then the fourth finding for the conditional use permit is conditions will be deemed, the conditions that we impose will be necessary to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare of the community. And we seemed satisfied with much of what was said this evening. That's the conditional use permit. Now, for the design review, there are 9 criteria where, and/or findings. And the design review was triggered by the shade structure, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, number 1, again, the findings would need to see the user impact and needs, circulation, parking, utilities, noise, odor, trash collection. We reviewed that. Number 2, relationship to the physical features. I think renewing the parkway trees, I think in general that helps with the entire area in terms of the physical features. And in addition, I think the plantings also accentuate and are an addition to the physical features. Waste standard, okay, number 3, what waste standards apply to an auto, oh, I'm sorry. Number 3, consistency with architectural style, compatible with the style of the neighborhood. We discussed that. Balance and integration with the neighborhood. Overall design integrated with the neighborhood and in harmony with the bulk and scale of the surrounding properties. Clearly, the bulk and scale is within the dimensions, the same bulk and scale of the adjacent properties. Building design, innovative and creative and full of variety, right? And we seem to all be appreciative of this innovative and creative building design. The signs that the issues related to signs was asked, and we can see it on here. The sign is not intrusive to the neighborhood. Consistency with residential design guidelines. Oh, we can't ask you now, can we? We closed the public hearing? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so just a consideration. Consistency with ACAP, we did discuss that, and it was mentioned. Conditions of approval, again, the conditions that that we suggest deemed necessary to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare of the community. Okay, those are so in our resolution, when these are the required findings that we have that give us evidence that it's important for us to approve this project.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. Anybody else? Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Lamb.
So let's see, I'm going to go to the resolution, is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'd like to make a resolution of the Planning Commission approving an exemption declaration, a conditional use permit, and a Planning Commission design review for an auto body shop within an existing commercial building on property located in a commercial C2 zone at 1435 Aviation Boulevard. I'm satisfied that the findings for the conditional use permit and the Planning Commission design review are evidence that it meets code requirements.
Okay, and then we need to, what?
Second?
Yeah, no, we need a condition. We need to add the
That's
condition of
right,
the
adding a
parkway.
condition.
We've got a few conditions crafted to address, I think, a few of the concerns that were raised. A new condition, number 28, all vehicles associated with the business must be maintained on the subject property at all times. Condition 29, prior to the issuance of a business license, the applicant is required to install 2 to 3 parkway trees in the adjacent right-of-way fronting the applicant's property, subject to the review and approval by the Public Works Department.
Okay,
That'll work.
yeah.
Was there any other?
No, I don't think so. I think that was it. Do we have a second?
Oh, second.
Okay, so be it.
No, I'm gonna shop.
Yeah. Congratulations. It looks as though you have a,
You got the vote.
oh, we do need to vote. I'm sorry. Let's vote on that. Go ahead, sorry. Roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Light,
Yeah, aye.
Commissioner Boswell,
I approve.
Commissioner Craig,
Aye, yes.
Commissioner Gaddis,
Aye.
Commissioner Conroy,
Aye.
Commissioner Lamb,
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Aye.
Hazeltine,
Aye. Now, congratulations.
I did want to say one thing about the parkway trees. One of my employees did just mention that there was a resident, or maybe somebody that was visiting, that actually tripped over the concrete because of the roots of the tree. Right, and that's why the Public Works removed out all those trees.
That makes
wasn't-
sense.
That won't be an issue with palm trees, right?
I'm good with palm trees, I just don't want the old trees that were there.
No, yeah, so that'll be.
Yeah, and that'll be subject to their review and approval.
Right.
If they determine that it's consistent with their street improvement plans and the other, I
most
guess,
likely,
criteria that they go by.
So generally in the city's effort to add
Thank
more
you.
trees to the city, we are at a point where we've identified trees that generate root problems, and we're not
sure.
using them anymore. So whatever does go in there would be approved by the city, and it would not have the root problem. But a 2x2 hole sounds kind of small, really.
Yeah, and they will design it appropriately depending on the tree type, size. There's root barrier installations that go along with that. So they've got a standard.
Whatever does go in there shouldn't need to be pulled back out in 20 years.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like in my neighborhood.
We've got to keep working on beautifying aviation, that's for sure.
And thank you, Mike, for being one of the first to beautify Aviation Boulevard.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm the one first. We own the pet store right next to him. 1971, we opened up. It's
Oh,
still there.
oh,
It's called Pet Mart Hermosa Beach.
I know that.
It's a landmark.
Okay.
We're still running the show. So we are here. Let's go celebrate and have champagne.
Did you bring it? Okay, let's see. I don't think we have
All
any.
of you guys.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you so much.
thank
You
you.
two are the ones with the champagne, right?
Yeah.
You got a case back?
Okay, do we have any items continued from the previous agenda? No?
For the records, there's no e-comments for J1 and no attendees.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, any items from staff?
No items from staff, although I would like to make one announcement. We have a upcoming General Plan Advisory Committee meeting, January 31st, 6:30 PM in the second floor conference room of the main library. So there'll be broadcasts or notifications going out on the website, some e-blasts. So that'll be the GPAC's 27th and final meeting.
Wow.
How long's that been going on?
20, they GPAC,
It's on a
yeah,
Wednesday?
2017
Oh.
GPAC was formed.
Goodness gracious.
We've been through a lot, COVID, state arena allocation. There's been a lot that's happened along the way. And they did a tremendous amount of work, dedicated individuals, and so we're going to wrap it all up on the 31st.
Okay, do we have any, thank you, Sean. Do we have any commission items, referrals to staff? Yeah, Commissioner Lamb.
Did you?
No, go ahead.
So thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask our Director Scully if he can give us an update on some of the prior developments that we have reviewed, Grub House, the Galleria, Catalina, and we haven't reviewed BCHD, but if you could, that's a project that's coming forward in the future, and if there's any update with that.
I can't say much about Beach Cities Health District. That'll be an item before this commission, and it's not on our agenda, so I know Cheryl's listening, so there's not a lot I can say about that. No, other than no formal application has been submitted at this time. Concerning the Grub House, that project is in plan check. They are preparing to resubmit for their second round of review, so we're hoping that they've addressed all the corrections and comments and will come in with a set of plans we can approve.
Are there any issues?
Just standard nuts and bolts, building and safety engineering issues, details. As far as from our department, we've approved it, planning division. It was in substantial conformance with what this group had approved with the entitlements that were issued. The Galleria we just had a meeting with them today. They're queuing up another phase to come in. Again, that'll come before this body, so that's all I'm at liberty to say at this time, but you'll see it soon.
They're queuing up another phase. They haven't even started on this one.
Well, no, they are in plan check. So 1A, 1B, there are three phases, 1A, 1B, 1C. 1A is the mall renovation, which is completed its plan check process. We're just awaiting to issue the permit. They're gathering their resource in order to come in with their there's a few final documents and their fees for the building permit to be issued for phase 1A, the mall renovation, along with the great lawn area, the outdoor area, and the skate park. That's all under one permit. 1B is mixed use, residential and commercial, the 300 residential units. That's really close to being approved, and then that will be issued. So those two phases are happening, and then the phase 1C, the hotel, that hasn't been submitted yet, so we don't know where that's at currently, but a phase 2, which will come before this body sometime in the spring, possibly. Environmental determinations to be made, but again, I can't say much more than that on that one.
So we'll see phase 2 and phase 3, is that correct?
Just phase 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a phase 3?
We haven't heard of that. There's additional entitled components that would make up a subsequent phase after phase 2, but we don't know how they're putting that together.
Okay, so, somebody have a question?
Catalina?
Oh, Catalina,
Question about the
Stacy?
Oh, a question about the mall, I'm sorry.
Yeah, question about, so I'm concerned about this phase 2, because I can't imagine what it could possibly be. Because in getting the approval for the project, I was under the impression it was the entire mall, the entire property, and they negotiated away various things, like part of their residential. And now we're talking about a phase 2. What would that possibly bring back that would even be allowable?
Well, it's consistent with the original entitlement that was issued.
Huh?
There was additional components to this development. There was a number of components to the development for the expansion of the
We
mall.
approved the extension and evaluated the changes in the plan. We were told that they had, in this current version, they have satisfied 100% of their requirements for the permit. So if everything they were allowed to do in the original permit is in this current project, what could possibly be in a second phase?
Well,
And do we really call it a
when we
second
get an
phase or a whole nother
application,
project?
when we get an application and review that application, we'll bring that before this
So
body.
we don't know.
We can't, it's not on the
It's
agenda.
not on our
Not even
agenda.
gonna
I
talk
can't
about
talk about it.
it. Okay, so, yeah, so we need to pay close attention to what's going on here.
It's coming, it's
It
coming,
it will come before this body.
Close attention, fellow commissioners.
yes. Okay.
This is the modern commission.
then
not the-
Catalina.
Commissioner Lamb said,
any update on Catalina?
For Catalina Village,
Yes, Catalina Village.
a beautiful
Big coffee
historic
shop again.
district, they have not submitted for plan check yet. So they should be in the phase of preparing their construction drawings and then submitting for plan check review. So they're in this because we have the historic district and all of the modifications to the historic buildings as well as the residential. I suspect that they'll phase their submittal to plan check, but we haven't seen that yet.
And is this still the same group that went round and round and round and we finally approved?
It is.
So would that be coming back to us now?
Most likely, no.
Okay, so
If they meet the entitlements that
Dealing
you
with-
granted.
with Processes after our approval, after the approval of the project.
It can take quite a while for them to create those construction documents, particularly because they have to follow the preservation plan for each historic building.
And that's fine,
Planning
I just wanted to
consult-
know if they were, if it was, because I'd heard rumors they were trying to sell it.
Yeah, it's for
and-
sale now.
And
They do have signage on the property for that.
And that what we had approved apparently, well, and this is just
Can I-
rumor, of course, is not profitable for them.
can I
So-
ask a quick question? There is a sign on the building lease or sale. If the current owner of the property wants to lease that out, is that something could we even mention that tonight and discuss the process? Is it possible?
We
We can't discuss it?
It's not on the agenda, so
Okay.
it was an entitled project.
Okay,
That's all that's allowed to be developed there now.
right, okay.
Unless they modify it, and now they would have to bring that back or come in with a different project.
Okay, they have to come back to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
So they
Yes.
were very,
I guess we can't
I
talk
guess
about it.
they,
Okay, we
one
can't
of
talk
their
about
big
it.
things was that they're going to build it and run it.
Okay,
And
do
with the
we,
lease up there, would that mean that they'll build it and perhaps lease it to someone else? Is that what that implies?
we don't know, and we can't talk about it.
We just did.
Sure.
I'm
Yes.
talking about it.
If there's enough to talk about, what's the process to agendize it? Or do we just wait till it's presented and save our questions till then?
Yeah, no, there's nothing, it's an entitled project, there's nothing that we can share, it just has to be built, or it has to come in to the next phase, the building permit plan check process, and then we process that, and it must substantially conform to the
Right.
approved plans and the conditions.
And they have how long to act on what we okayed?
36 months.
36 months.
3
And it's
years.
been, well, it's been a while. It's been 24 probably, at least.
We're probably coming up on 24 months, yeah.
Yeah.
I still wake up in the middle of the
Okay.
night screaming.
It was
about this.
April, yeah. So it'll be almost 2 years.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's 2 years ago.
Mr. Scully, quick question on that. People keep on asking me about the Legato project. Have you gotten any dates on when they anticipate completion?
Yeah, I have to touch base with the building inspectors that are on the site daily to see where that is at. Yeah, I don't know what their current end date, C of O date is targeting for certificate of occupancy and for them to open up, but that's something I can report back
Yeah,
on.
it's more of a
Yeah.
general stuff.
Yeah.
People ask me all that all the
Yes.
time, and I say, well,
Yes.
get your certification of occupancy, it could be now, it could be December, I don't know. So, yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Lamb.
Back to Catalina Village. Let me just see if I understand, because it's not agendized, there's a limited amount of information we can ask and/or that you can respond to. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not something we can discuss.
So,
As
but
a
I could make
body
a
or a
statement,
staff.
right? I could make a statement. Okay, for example, the statement that I would like to make is, this property is very valuable. The coffee shop is very valuable to our community. It doesn't make any sense at all that this coffee shop would languish because of the absence of communication between the city and the owner. It doesn't make, it's not, to have that coffee shop languish does not benefit the residents, it doesn't benefit the city, and it doesn't benefit the property owner. That's my statement. And it would be my wish that the city and the property owner would come to some agreement in regards to opening that coffee shop. Hopefully, I haven't crossed
They
any
haven't demoed
boundaries
out
here.
anything yet, have they?
Yeah,
No.
It's all still there, it's just dusty.
yeah, it's because there are businesses currently in the other stores that are operating, so it doesn't seem quite right that the coffee shop should stay empty when the family most likely would be able to lease that out. So the process would be, I guess, they need to come in front of the planning department and figure that out, huh?
They need to reach out to staff to let us
Okay.
know what they want to do with those
Okay.
spaces.
Okay, thank you. So,
I'm actually kind of surprised because there's 2 property owners, not 1.
right, but the Catalina Coffee Shop building is actually owned by one
Yeah,
family.
there's 3 lots, 2 of them are owned by 1.
So, okay, thank you. So do we have a motion to?
So that would be you, Stacy?
Okay.
That could be me,
Okay,
absolutely.
great, thank you.
You would be able to approach them with that suggestion?
Most of these questions are for the owners, right?
Right.
What is their intent? They need to let us know, do they want to move forward? Do they want to open the commercial businesses? They need to let us know so that we can engage with them.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay,
you.
Commissioner Conroy.
Yeah, I just wanted to commend Associate Planner Kinsella and Director Scully on the presentation they put together for us tonight. It really, really helped in understanding what the issues were and answering questions before we even had to ask them. So thank you very much for that.
You're
Yes,
very
thank you.
welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, we worked really hard on this one. It's first project in the ACAP. We had some hard discussions with the applicant. I think one of his proponents or supporters talked about a high standard. We held them to a very high standard, as the intention of the ACAP
Right.
is to do. And we also were extremely concerned about the neighbors. And, we took every effort to ensure this wasn't going to have that impact. And the item's over, so I can't say anymore. But it was
Good job.
a good team effort.
Thank you,
Very much
Director
so.
Spillane. Thank you.
I have
Yes,
one other question.
yes.
New restaurant over there by Rite Aid, the Denny's.
Yes.
What's coming in?
I'm working on that.
You're at liberty to
It's-
say.
It's,
Talk about it.
it's in the noticing period. So it's an administrative use permit. So it's another legal non-conforming structure. But because it's in the ACAP, it's allowable through an administrative use permit. We've prepared the approval documents, but we are waiting for the noticing period to end to see if we get any public comments. So it will be a new restaurant in the old Denny's location.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
But
I
it
think
doesn't look like a Denny's.
It will still look like a Denny's. It will be most likely repainted.
The fish taco guy on Inglewood and Artesia, it still looks like a KFC, but
Oh, that's right.
but you will forget all about that as soon as you walk in the door.
But it won't be open 24 hours.
I'm sure it will. What about the El Tarasco on Artesia? It's just sitting there with a sign on it.
That's a
looking
good question.
lonely.
I haven't been working on that one.
they're-
Did they have a code enforcement case?
Yeah, there's not something we can speak to, code enforcement activity ongoing. So we're working very closely with them though, and trying to get that through as quickly as possible.
If there's one thing we need, it's
Open
another
it up.
Mexican restaurant.
I have, Sean, could you remind me, did the APAC has beautification in the parkway in those plans that,
The ACAP?
yeah.
It has that as an option and an implementation measure to
Okay.
consider the public right-of-way, and it has a number of alternative layouts and designs that show a widened sidewalk, no parking adjacent to the businesses, widen the sidewalk.
Right.
Reduce the width of the median, then also put in a bike lane. It's got a number of different.
Okay, so we're on
Configurations.
track with our planting in front of the parkway. Where did the trees go? I'm good. I'm good.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
just curious. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.